Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tori and today we are working in my October daily album on stories 17 and 18. I've got a little list here of some of the upcoming videos that I'm planning and how I'm thinking I will lay out my story numbers within those videos if you wanted a little peek about that. I've also got quite a bit pulled out here for the two stories that I'll be telling today. I'm going to be using the Stanley Alpha from Carrie Bradford Studio. I've got two full-sized photos and a little pouch of some additional photos and some embellishments. And then in my secondary pouch for story number 18, I only have the two school photos that I printed out for my kids because story 18 will be telling the school photos story. So we're going to jump right in and start working on story number 17, which was a recent visit to a local pumpkin patch. I've got, like I said, two full page photos. Those were printed on the Epson Premium Presentation Matte photo paper or presentation paper. I don't think it's technically photo paper, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. And I've got some additional a little bit less than 3x4 inches. I printed them out so that I could kind of use them like little Polaroids and use these Tim Holtz Halloween phrase stickers to put in like that little white portion at the bottom. And then I have this candy corn paper from Michaels that I'm going to place in between these two photos. This is, I believe it was 5 inches by 8.25, just so like traveler's notebook size-ish, that I'm going to use to just add those additional photos to this spread. And a really teeny tiny little embellishment from the Citrus Twist kit from last year that just said pumpkin patch. I had pulled that out because I thought it was quite fitting for the spread, so it was just kind of sitting in this envelope as well. I am using my little scoreboard to line these papers up. I'm just going to adhere them back to back right off the bat because I know that that's where I will be going with this anyways. And I find it's easier to adhere papers back to back if there's nothing on them. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. These 4 photos that I've got printed out here, I have one of myself and my husband, one of just the kids, and then on the other 2 that will go on the back, there is a photo of my husband with the kids and then myself with the kids. So I'm just going to place these down at a slight angle. I'm gluing them down, but I'm going to pull out just some black grid washi tape and rip that in half to put like a little teeny tiny washi strip above each photo or like on the top of each photo to make it look like the washi is actually what's holding it on the paper. It's not, but it's cute, so I wanted to go ahead and do that. And then I will pull off some of these word phrase stickers to get them just placed in that blank space below my photos. I'm going to grab some tweezers to do that though so that I can try and get them as centered as possible. I am just eyeballing this though, so it's probably not perfect and I'm okay with that. So I will just get those added on there and then we will just move right along to the back side and get the other 2 photos added down. I also just realized as I'm sitting here getting these adhered down or watching myself get these adhered down that I don't think that I included the movies and books read in the little outline that I shared at the beginning on my iPad. So there will probably be some of those either included in videos that I've already planned or that I've thought about planning, or it might be its own video, but that will also be included. I did also, once I finished this spread, the page that's on the back of the first pumpkin literally doesn't have anything on it. I guess I must have thought that something else was going to be going there because I definitely didn't plan anything for that page. So that one is probably going to be one of the very few, maybe even the only kind of just junk journaling style spread that I do. Maybe I'll just use it to use up some of my leftover embellishments or papers or something like that. I'm not 100% sure yet. You'll see it once we get to the end of the video and I flip through the few little pages that we've done together today. But yeah, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to be doing with that particular page. So since these are all like their own individual pages, I am just going to go ahead and get the holes punched in, these two that are going to be on the right hand side. I don't punch the large pumpkin photo yet because I had assumed that I would be adhering that to the back of something else, and that was before I realized that I had nothing that would go on the other side of it. So now that I've got really like the bones of everything together, I'm going to pull out a little tab sticker and just add that to the side of my mini page. And I'm really sad, but I only have like 2 of these left as of this portion of the video. My next video, I will use another one, and then I'll only have 1 left, and I'm so sad because they're like almost gone. And then I'm going to use my story number stickers to just add story number 17 to the back photo. I'm not going to be doing much messing with these photos at all. The story number sticker is the only thing that I'm going to add to that very back photo. And then for this first photo, since the whole top of this was really, really light, I'm actually going to stamp out my title, which is just going to be Pumpkin Patch, which I do end up spelling incorrectly. I definitely missed the second P here, and I get, I think, the I down before I realized that. I'm just going to pull out some plain leftover sticker paper to re-stamp out the PKI, because I also didn't like that I used that lowercase I. Didn't really feel like it fit too well. So I'm just going to re-stamp that out and then just fussy cut that out and just lay it right over top of my error and continue stamping. Luckily, the top of this page was so light that the white sticker paper that I ended up using is almost not noticeable at all unless you're like really looking for it. Even in person, like on screen, like I don't even think that you can see it. But even in person, it's really just blended in perfectly. So yay for that. So I'm typing out or stamping out Pumpkin Patch using that Stanley Alpha from Carrie Bradford Studios. And then I'm going to pull out my date stamp and add the date that we actually went to the pumpkin patch right next to it to the right of my title. And then I'm going to pull out my Tombow Fudonosuke brush pen to just add a small bit of journaling saying that we had such a good time going to a local pumpkin patch and, you know, just taking photos and stuff. The kids loved it. They had a great time. My son, Oliver, also took this picture of me and my husband, and it is such a good photo. So I'm also adding a little tiny note next to that photo as well, just to call out that he took the photo so that way when I look back on this album in the future, I will remember that. I went ahead and added that little embellishment that said Pumpkin Patch, and I believe that's pretty much all I'm going to be doing for this one. There's a lot going on just with the amount of photos, so I wanted to keep it fairly simple. And I did finally get one of my cards in the mail for my Halloween card swaps that I was a part of. So I was just sharing that as well a little bit because I know I've talked about that a few times, I think. So yeah, I got one of those in the mail. So we'll get this first story back in my album, or at least half of it back in my album. I'm going to go ahead and punch out the holes for the first half of the pumpkin story pages that still need holes punched. And then I'm just going to kind of flip through with my little half page as well to show you what that looks like. But I'm going to pull out the very last full page photo because I'm going to be adhering story number 18 directly to the back of that. So I figured that since I was working on both of those stories in this video, I might as well just have it already out and just tape it back to back before I place the other one in my album to kind of help my future self when I'm trying to get my album kind of finished off. I have another piece of paper here from Michaels that I will be using for my background of this story. I really like this little side with the spiders on it. It's got like some rose gold foiled dots with the spiders, but I felt like it clashed a little bit too much with my photos. So I'm just going to use the black and white spider web photo. And honestly, it's kind of funny because in my next video, I actually drew out a little spider web background paper, and it I didn't realize that they were gonna match so well, that one with this particular paper. So I'm going to be tapping my fingers quite a bit. That is my thinking tap. Whenever I'm crafting and I'm not sure what I want to move forward with doing or what actions I want to take, and I think I've mentioned this before, I tend to like tap my fingers, either one hand or both hands, or I'll alternate hands, just tapping my fingers on my desk. And I do that quite a lot with this second story because I had absolutely no plans going into this story other than using my kids' school photos. So these school photos were taken earlier in the month of October. And I thought that since they were taken in October and I was documenting October moments and things that happened, I would just print out these photos and just have a nice little page to paste their school photos down in. So that's what I did. And I'm just trying to figure out here what I want to do because I don't want to just lay them directly down on this paper because I'm going to want to stamp out a title, and this patterned paper is far too dark for me to be stamping on. So what I'm kind of doing here is just messing with all of my stuff to see if there are any additional embellishments or anything else that I would like to use to finish up this spread. But what ultimately I'm going to end up doing is just grabbing a very large, like manila tag. Is that the color? I don't know. I'm going to grab one of these very, very large tags though. And I'm going to place my photos a little off kilter so that there's a lot of space to the side of my son and then a lot of space to the opposite side of my daughter, because that's actually where I'm going to end up stamping out my title. I'm also going to add a little piece of ribbon to this tag as well and just get this adhered right down to my background page. This is another one that's going to come together kind of quickly. I didn't do too much wildness with this particular layout, and if I had pre-planned it, it probably would have been much quicker of a process, because I think most of the time for this particular story I just spent thinking and trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. So now we're just adhering that large tag down, and I'm going to trim down the ribbon that I placed in that just to give it a little like fancy edge. And then we will get my photos adhered down. And once I have those photos adhered down, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp out my title. And I'm going to be doing a vertical title. Actually, before I do my title, I'm also going to ink up the edges of the photos. I felt like they kind of blended into that tag. So I'm just going to rub my Color Theory Inky Black ink pad all down all of the edges of each photo. And it just gives it like the slightest separation from that tag, because there's a very light, very thin maybe black line that kind of separates it from the tag. And I think for me, and in person even more so, I think it's especially noticeable. But this is also something that I tend to add to a lot of my spreads for various reasons. I just really feel like it helps separate things. So it's one of my favorite like little things to do to pull a photo out of my background that I have it on if I feel like it's blending in too much. So once I get that done, I'm going to then move on to adhering my photos down. And then I'm going to start working on my title. So hopefully we'll be able to see here once these are adhered down, like the difference, because I do think it makes quite a difference. Like you can see the photo separation from the tag a lot more with that inked edge than before, in my opinion, at least. So I'm stamping vertically down the side of each photo on the tag, and I'm just stamping out school photos. And then at the very top of the tag, that little blank space, I'm going to stamp out 2024. And one thing that I do when I'm stamping out numbers for this particular stamp set, the actual alphabet that I use for this stamp set, the 0 is like really small. It's like the size of a lowercase o, and I hate it. So I use the capital O in place of the actual 0 that's included with this font. And that's why the one that I'm using is a lot bigger than the one that's like directly with the numbers on that stamp set. And that is my typewriter alphabet that I have in my Etsy shop. It's one of my stamp sets, which I did just reorder. They're out of stock right now, but I do have a reorder in. So if you're interested in checking those out, I will have that linked below for you. And then I'm just using some of these Citrus Twist foam alphabets to put the grade that each of my kids is in, just for the purposes of this being school photos. Then the last thing that I will do on this spread or this page is just stick down my story number. And I struggled figuring out where I want this, and I don't think that I'm happy with where it ended up. I just think that it doesn't really look good, and it probably wouldn't have looked good really anywhere because everything is so like linear on this one, but who knows. So we'll get this added right back into my album, and then kind of finish this off. I'm gonna do like a little tiny mini flip through of all of the spreads that we did together, just to show you what we've completed. So I've got my pumpkin patch here, and then the school photos that my kids took in the month of October, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!